All right, designers, we're back here for our second video in the textile design unit for your Illustrator lessons. And today we're going to learn how to create a motif pattern using the symbols panel. So a motif pattern simply means it's a repetitive image over and over again that therefore creates a pattern. So there's an identifiable object in it. So the last pattern we did was basic geometric shapes. That was abstract in nature, didn't look like anything. Today's we're going to do a repetitive motif pattern using actual objects or shapes from the symbols panel. So we're going to get started same way that we did before. We're going to go to File, New, and I want you to set up another document, basic document, 20 by 20 inches. Again, double check that it's set to inches and click Create. Now we're going to use the same exact option to create our pattern. We're going to use that pattern maker option, but before we do that, we're going to make a more complex tile. Like I said, we're going to do it from the symbols panel. So we're going to go up to Window and Symbols. This is the first time we're seeing this panel. Think of them as kind of like little pieces of clip art or little illustrations, stock illustrations that Illustrator comes with that you can use. Now by default there's probably not a lot in there. You might even need to load some if there's none in there, but you're going to click on this little panel here. You're going to go drop down and we're going to go, let's do something weird. Let's do tiki. And this panel should show up. All right, so these are all the different designs that you have in this library. You can load other ones, and if you're interested, let me know and I can come over and I can show you how to load other ones. Sometimes you can go into the Adobe Cloud and they'll have new ones in there. But to get something applied, you're just going to literally click and drag. Right, so go ahead and click and drag on the fish. That's the second one there. And then we're going to enlarge this. In order to enlarge without distorting, I want you to hold down Shift and drag. All right, now we are going to fine tune this symbol. So again, these are already images, illustrations that were created in Illustrator for stock purposes in Adobe, but we want to fine tune it. So the way we have to fine tune it, because all we can do right now is we could distort the shape and size of it, but we really can't make any other changes. In order to make changes, you need to click on the symbol, and then up in your control panel up at the top, you should have where it says edit symbol, break link, or reset. We want to break that link. So it's breaking the link to the symbols panel. So now we've kind of made it its own free floating thing that we can now edit. But before we do that, we must ungroup it. So I'm going to go to right click and I'm going to go to ungroup. Now you may have to do it a couple times because they probably have groupings within groupings. And this may happen where notice all of a sudden something changed. And that's okay. You're just kind of seeing how the sausage is made, if that makes sense. Whoever designed this had to do it through a myriad of different objects. So it's just a matter of getting them to the right order. So just break the link, ungroup a few, and then we're going to start editing. So like I said, we want to pick on those scales and we're going to increase the size because they're not very thick. We really can't see them. So I want you to click on one of the scales. You may need to zoom in. And then we're going to go to Select, Same, and we want to select all of the other little ones instead of trying to have to select them individually. We're just going to go to Fill and Stroke, and it should select all of those. Go ahead and stop the video, do that. All right, and then pick a different color for the stroke. I don't care what color you pick, just pick a different color. And I want you to increase the stroke size. Let's increase it to about, let's go to 4. And then we're going to change it. Instead of uniform, which means it's the same weight throughout, pick one of the other width profiles. Again, it doesn't matter which one, but now you'll notice it's not the same thickness. It tapers on one end. So go ahead and stop the video and do that now. All right. And then I want you to go ahead and change the colors of your fish, of any of the shapes. Just have some fun playing around, changing the colors of things. Ooh, that's ugly. I don't like that. so you've got your fish here. You've changed your colors. If you want to, you can change some shapes of things. But in other words, you're just modifying this thing. So modify your fish. When that is done, I want you to highlight all of it again, and I want you to group it. And then we're just going to move that out of the way. We're going to go to a different panel, different library. So in your symbols panel, click the drop down. I want you to go to dot vector patterns. It's going to open up these weird little things. I want you to grab the very first one that's in there and click and drag that. Notice it's big, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Go ahead and resize that. If you want to keep it the same proportions, make sure you hold down shift, but I don't want to, I don't care. We're going to break that link again and change your color. Okay, so stop the video and do that now. Then I want you to relink that or regroup those. All right, so now we have two separate objects here. I'm just moving it down here on the fish. And then we're going to send that to the back. So we're going to object arrange, send to back. So now we have our fish in front of our little splatter here. I'm going to resize that just a bit. So I want yours to look something like mine. So you've got the splatter, you got your fish offset. We're going to make some copies of our fish. We're going to click and drag down. I'm going to resize this, make it any shape or size. And we're going to flip this. I'm just going to be lazy about it. I'm just going to flip it this direction. If you want to change the color of your fish, you can change the color of your fish. I'm going to do another one. I'm actually going to take the opacity of this one down. Okay, so now we've got our little tile here. So just like we did before, I'm going to take this tile, I'm going to enlarge it as big as I can, and we need to save this. So we're going to go to File, Save As, save it in your Creative Cloud. We're going to call it Motif Tile, and then your name, and click Save. All right. Now we're going to select it, Object, Pattern, Make. We're back in this pattern maker again. Click OK to this. It's going to say, hey, you're making a pattern. I need to resize all this because I want to make it smaller here. So resize it so that you can see more of your pattern. And then you're clearly going to have to make your distance much, much smaller. In fact, I'm going to close mine out. I'm going to close mine out. I'm going to make mine smaller before I do that. Okay, Object, Pattern, Make. I'm going to try that again. Click OK. And you, again, can pick whichever tile composition you want. I'm a big fan of the hex. It's just, I like it. And I'm going to decrease my size a little. My computer is working hard. You can also, I did not show you this to you last time, I'm going to show it to you now. You have some overlapping options. It can, if you have overlap like mine does, let me increase my overlap just a bit more. You can see where the tiles will start to overlap. Well, I can decide if I want my left in front, the right in front, so it changes the way your overlapping works. And then you're going to again click Done. Now it's not going to look like anything happened, but remember it's now added here in this new pattern. Select your tile, you're going to remove it. We're going to grab our rectangle tool, click and drag a rectangle that goes all the way from left to right, and I want you to fill it with your pattern. All right, now let's suppose we zoom in here and we're like, ugh, I actually don't like how that overlaps. I want to do some edits. So here's the great thing about making a pattern with Pattern Maker. I can still edit this. So if I double click on the symbol or my pattern, my swatches pattern, it's going to reopen that same exact box. And I can now edit. So if I'm like, actually I think it's spaced way too close together, I don't like the overlap, I can give it a little bit more space. Oops, go up, not away. Because I want more of my negative space to show through. And then again, when I'm happy with that, and my computer is done thinking, I'm going to click done. And it has now updated that in the symbols panel. So you will see you can continue making edits. All right, one last thing I'm going to show you and then we're going to be done. I want to show you that what we have here is actually a transparency. I'm going to show you that by adding a box in the background. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and I'm going to select a different color. I'm going to go with a dark color, just, let's go with something completely different so you can really see it. I'll go with a weird pinky color. And I'm going to click and drag this rectangle. So go ahead and stop the video, drag a rectangle with solid color, and then you're going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. So notice how that was transparent behind it. Oh, I did not like that color, so I'm going to change that. Ugh, that's even worse. What am I doing? Okay, that's better. All right. Do make sure that your boxes line up exact. And I can decide I don't want this background color, the negative space. I can just leave it white if I wanted to. But for today, for today's lesson, I wanted to have a color. And then we're going to go to File, Save As. In the Creative Cloud, you're going to call it Motif Pattern. Shore, or your name. That would be weird if you titled it Shore. And then again, make sure you invite me to edit this so that you get credit for this. All right, now that you are done with both of these patterns, your next video lesson that you need to watch is the creating a color scheme. You need to watch that before you create your custom pattern that you are going to be using for your project. Otherwise, good job. Make sure you've turned this in and you've marked as complete or marked as done in Google Classroom.